Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine with this week's playlist. And this playlist is called 5 from 75. Well, actually it's 7 because obviously it's things I've picked for the whole week. But 5 from 75 has kind of a ring to it. So I'm going to pick the 5 and then add 2 to the end that were also a key part of this storyline. And what is this storyline? 1975, and this is part 1 by the way, because there's so much going on in 1975. All of these that I've picked are from the UK, I think. And the next batch, the next 5 from 75 plus 1 plus 2 will be from the USA, most possibly. So these are all tracks from 75, which was the year that I left school. And it was the year I entered the world of work, and I ended up working in lots of really loud, dirty factories. This was the 70s, where being an apprentice in a factory meant lots of initiation ceremonies and lots of bullying. Was rife then in the workplace, and I'd gone from being a school kid to into this world which I absolutely hated. Absolutely hated. I was so unhappy when this happened to me. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so, which is never a good thing, kids, if you're out there. Always think about what you want to do, because if you don't, you'll end up doing what you don't want to do. So this was a learning part of my life, going from just being carefree and obviously doing my exams was pretty stressful, but then realising when I didn't get the results I needed, I wasn't very academic. I ended up going into probably a job no one would want and working in places that nobody wanted to go to, and there you go. So what got me through it? Music. Music, as I say in all my videos, is the healer and the doctor. Is also the ultimate support mechanism for helping you to mentally escape and regroup within your mind, and to think about what you can do and how to improve your situation. So building up to leaving school that summer of 1975, the music had started to really infiltrate itself into my mind. It was becoming all-encompassing, everything I wanted. And the first album that I'm picking is Bad Company and Straight Shooter. This was, I'd got into Bad Company because I'd seen them on the Whistle Test, I think it was. It could have been Top of the Pops doing Can't Get Enough with the first album from 74. I bought that single for 48 pence from a newsagent around the corner from school. But this was actually the first album I actually bought by them. And it was after hearing the song Good Loving Gone Bad, which I think the B-side was, Whiskey Bottle, which I've still got somewhere. But Good Loving Gone Bad was harder. It was harder rock. It was heavy rock. And, Paul Rodgers was really going for it. But it was songs like Feel Like Making Love, which I saw on our Whistle Test, which was started like this country song and then goes into this wonderful chorus, the power chords of Mick Ralph's, and Simon Kirk's just steady drumming, Boz Burrell on the bass, and of course the guitar solo at the end of Feel Like Making Love. Someone said to me once it wasn't very musical, but I thought it was perfect. That light echo on it and the question and answer thing. With Rodgers, who was really ad-libbing as he moved towards the end of the song. And Paul Rodgers always did that. He always just let go of the rail and just sang however he felt in that moment. Because if he'd recorded the song an hour later, it would have been another moment and he would have done it differently. Weep No More, Shooting Star, which is about Paul Kossoff, or I always felt it was. Great song about becoming a rock star, but then, things going out of control and losing your life. But the B-side, side 2, in Old Money, Deal with the Preacher. Great song about staying single, and of course when I was only, 16 anyway, so songs that told me I was doing fine and I didn't want to get settled down and get married and all that kind of stuff. I loved it. I love the speed up of the drums at the end. I love the guitars. I just loved it. It's a great rock song. Wildfire Woman was wonderful. I used to remember Robin Falk used to play that when I used to come home from work, and I'd sit in the kitchen having my tea because I always got home late because I had to work the other side of Birmingham. It was about 3 buses away, and I loved that song. Anna was good, but I also liked Call on Me, which is a ballad. And for me at that age, I didn't really do ballads, but I loved the way it built. I loved, again, the soulful interpretation by Paul Rodgers again. So yeah, this album from 1975, and the inner sleeve, it's still here, it is, with them all looking like they're at the casino on one side, and cowboys in a bar on the other side, was absolutely fantastic. I put it in a polylined inner sleeve, and even at a tender age of 16, went to Smith's to buy one. But yeah, I still play this, and it still means a great deal to me. But if you really wanted to ask me what version do I play the most, it would be this one, which is the 2 CD deluxe edition, which again, anything to do with Paul Rodgers, free. The alternative versions are never the same, but this comes with like different takes of Feel Like Making Love, Weep No More, Deal with the Preacher, different takes, early versions, and plus See the Sunlight, unreleased track, All Night Long, unreleased song, Wildfire Woman, different version. So, and a great little booklet as well. So that is the one I would say that I play the most. Then, as I progressed towards literally on the cusp of leaving work and I was doing my exams, I was too young, and my mum and dad wouldn't let me go and see the band that had taken over my life at this stage. And that band were Led Zeppelin. This was the soundtrack to that summer for me. From listening under the bedclothes when Heavy Pressure guy on a Birmingham radio station said he was going to premiere songs from the new Led Zeppelin album, and I was supposed to be going to sleep because I had exams in the morning. I was staying awake, listening to this little radio with a speaker about that size as he played, I think it was Custard Pie and the Wanton Song. And I just thought, it sounds like something from Led Zeppelin 2 and 4, which were my favourite Zeppelin albums because they were the rockiest. And I was just so excited. And it was actually a guy next door who bought it first, and he lent it me. I couldn't go and see him live. I missed out. But this was the whole world opening up to me. They were like, this Led Zeppelin, there's no, like, the cover was incredibly exotic in the way it was put together, the way things slide in and out with the little windows and everything, and the way that the tracks are listed, the names of the songs, and the fact that you have these inner sleeves which you could slot into the cover and create different pictures. And some of these pictures were of the band, these kind of mythical beings from another planet, because then there was no social media. Musicians were far away in the distance, especially Led Zeppelin. But Custard Pie was great, but The Rover, possibly my favourite Led Zeppelin song of all time, because of the riff and the way it starts and the groove, everything. And then In My Time of Dying, which over the years I've probably pulled back from, but then, you know, this 11-minute epic, I just loved it. I wasn't even quite sure what it was about, but I just loved it. Side 2, I used to miss out the first 2 tracks a bit. I didn't like Trampled Underfoot that much at the time because it was played as a single in the school disco a lot. Yes, it was a single. And I kind of went off it. But Kashmir was just what I needed. This kind of thing about I was going to have to find a job soon. I was going to find myself not at school anymore. And the world was about to change. My world was about to change. But Kashmir just gave me this vision, which also supported me when I went into what was going to happen next. This kind of, the way that Robert Plant sings at the end of that song, I used to just hum it in my mind about thinking it will get better. There will be something, something will happen to get me out of where I'm going. Side 3 was primarily about Into the Light. I love that riff. I love the way it started. It was like going into the world of Hobbits and Lord of the Rings. Then, of course, there were no films. We'd read it or were reading it. This kind of like almost fantasy image of the world. Great song, nearly 9 minutes long. The acoustic stuff at the time, I didn't gel with so much, which I was probably not going to have been at that age. Now, it all fits in so well with Bonnie O and Seaside and 10 Years Gone. I love them all. And then side 4, which had the kind of shorter tracks all connected together. I did like this and played it over and over again. Night Flight, always loved that. The Wanton Song, Boogie with Stew, Black Country Woman, and Sick Again. So, physical graffiti was an integral part of my soundscape from 1975. And although I play Led Zeppelin 1 the most, this is my favourite Led Zeppelin album. I think even to this day it shows the magnitude of what this band's vision was. Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, John Paul Jones and John Bonham. It just is immaculate. So I was primed. I didn't get this particular version, I don't think, until Christmas that year, because it was quite an expensive album at the time. What happened next was I started work, and I think from my first wages, which was £16.96 a week, and I had to give my mum and dad £5, the first album I bought, which had just released, was Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow. There's a separate video on this, looking at this in far more detail than I'm about to do. But what we started to see, kids, we started to see this picture of Ritchie appearing in newsagents in the window, that it was on its way. That this was a big event in the UK. Deep Purple had lost Ritchie Blackmore. It was never going to be the same again. But he put this together. Again, there's no social media, so the actual timeline was all over the place. And I remember hearing a couple of tracks on John Peel show. He played Man on a Silver Mountain. It was the same week he played tracks from Return to Fantasy by Uriah Heep. And he played Snake Charmer as well. Was it Snake Charmer? No, it wasn't. He didn't play that at all. He played 16th Century Greensleeves was the other one he played. And that was that one that I liked possibly the most, because the guitar solo was what I was really latching onto. But the riff for Man on a Silver Mountain was just amazing. And of course you've got Self-Portrait, great, Catch the Rainbow, which dipped into Jimi Hendrix as well. The song that I like the most now is Temple of the King. That the track I like the most then overall was Still I'm Sad, because I'd wished there'd been more songs like that, which was obviously he'd been playing with the Still I'm Sad riff with Purple, with U401, and of course Still I'm Sad became something else with vocals later on, but it was the instrumental version which really brought it home. By now I was an apprentice, having to leave the house at 6 a.m. to get to this factory in Witten, down Electric Avenue, I think it was, somewhere in Witten, and it was just horrendous. I used to come home and literally in tears. I was, because of either being, the initiation ceremonies, what was going on at work. It was just horrendous. And I just hated every moment of it. I'd gone into being an electrical engineer apprenticeship. I thought I was going to be an electrician with a white coat with a little screwdriver in the top pocket. I was so naive about the world. And so music was my escape. And I listened to this at home. There's no Walkmans, there's no iPods, there's no taking a cassette with a little one earpiece to work. I memorised the songs, I memorised the riffs, the guitars, I memorised the Ronnie James Dio's ad-libs, so I could recall them into my mind. So when things were really terrible at work or whatever was going on, I could just replay the music. I could just replay it in my mind's eye of what was going on, and it kept me going. It started to change my perception. The music started to make me feel like I don't have to put up with this. I can actually talk to somebody. I don't have to put up with this. I am my own person. I am going to be okay. The music is going to take me through. This is beyond music being a healer. This was music motivational. This was opening up the world to me. And this album, I know the next one that came along had better ways of doing that, Rainbow Rising, but this one did it. It's never been properly remastered, has it? I mean, I've got various versions on CD, but they're just basically the same tracks as they are. But one day I hope they do something with it. The next one that was bringing things along in such a way was Sabotage by Black Sabbath. Now, I was starting to play this I had to go to college on a day release, and some people looked at this album cover and kind of laughed at the award, or say it's one of the most bizarre Black Sabbath album covers of all time. I love it. And I loved it because this said to me, you can be who you want to be. Just be yourself. You know, you are who you are. You know, stand up for yourself. Be who you want to be. Black Sabbath. I mean, Bill Ward in his tights there, and Geezer Butler with Holding a Little Umbrella. I just looked at that and thought, good for them. I can just do what I want to do. If I want to grow my hair, I'm going to grow my hair. And musically, this was the soundtrack of the factories that I was in. I was working in places where it was drop forgings, where it was so loud, and there was no ear protection back then because health and safety hadn't been invented. That when I got home, the only thing that would be louder than the ringing in my ears would be something that I could turn up to reach over that sound, and that was Sabotage. Hole in the Sky. Yeah, probably way out of the range of where Ozzy could sing live, but what a riff. Don't Start Too Late, which is a kind of trick entry to what's going to be one of the heaviest riffs ever laid down with Symptoms of the Universe by Tony Iommi, and then goes into Megalomania, which was the one. The angst and the power in Ozzy's voice, you know, when he's at the entry point of every time Iommi comes back in with that intro riff on Megalomania. God, it got me. I just felt, you know, those blokes at work, think you're going to push me around? Just be, you know, thought, you know, you think you're as old as me, my dad. You know, I'm who I'm going to be here. You can't do that anymore because Black Sabbath are on my side. The thrill of it all, Superstar, the grit, Am I Going Insane? Sabbath. Now, am I going to say that which version is the best one? I've done this before. Is it the deluxe edition? No, I'm afraid not. There's a separate video on that, and which explains why. Nothing comes close to my vinyl edition, which I believe is, yes, on NEMS. The original on NEMS, nothing comes close to this. It sounds louder than a factory from the 70s, okay? It really does. Next, I'm heading towards the end of the year now, and I'm thinking that, yeah, Christmas is coming, so I might get some prezzies with some albums in. And I think I read it could have been the Sun or the Daily Mirror. No one read anything else back then. And there was an article on what to buy your kids for Christmas, and especially it said if you've got a son who's got long hair, or hopes to have long hair, and wears a long grey coat, well, I might have thought I might want it to, I don't know. They said then the album to buy them is by Deep Purple. The band, of course, which I'd kind of dropped because Richie Blackmore had left. How wrong I was. And they were saying you need to buy Come Taste the Band by Deep Purple. And this is what happened. And I've done a separate video on this as well. But this is now in my top 3 Deep Purple albums of all time, next to Many Japan and Burn. This is timeless to me. It introduced me to Tommy Bolin, which introduced me to jazz and all sorts of things. But as the years have rolled by, well, actually quite quickly, this album is just fantastic. The richness of Coverdale's voice on Drifter and Hughes on Getting Tighter, and that riff and the funk and you keep on moving, the guitar solo and everything about it, and the pictures of a band at the top of their game as it appeared to me. You know, the glamour of them, everything about it. I played it, and I still do. But this again was music that supported me through this period of my life, and because I've played it so much, it's become a diary entry to many moments of my life. Come Taste the Band by Deep Purple. Come Taste the Band by Deep Purple. The wine glass, everything about it. The version I play the most is the 2 CD version. That is the one with the extra tracks, which are was it Same in LA and the Tommy Bolin and Ian Pace jam. That is the one that I play the most. without a doubt. I think it sounds absolutely amazing. And the other reason, of course, is that they keep the faders up so that you actually can follow the tracks to where they just fall apart in the nicest possible way. Come Taste the Band by Deep Purple. Fantastic. So the other two, which take me out of my 5 for 75, but makes sense because it's 7 days in a week, is another one that really helped me during this period. And coming home from work, because you came home from work to put music on, you couldn't play it on the bus, you couldn't play it in your car because you hadn't got one, and you couldn't have done that anyway because there was, no one had cassettes, in cars then. I didn't at my age anyway. So you'd be singing the songs mentally in your mind in a different world. And when you were coming home, obviously your mum and dad might be making the tea, but it wouldn't be ready straight away. Never was, because even my dad coming home at different times. So you had time to go straight upstairs, turn on your stereo, and put on something to just blast away the day you've had, to blast away the people that are just like were just not you, the people you didn't fit in with. You had music that would just connect you to where you wanted to be as a person. Budgie, Bandolier, 1975, breaking all the house rules. Tick, that's what you wanted, wasn't it? Breaking all the house rules. No one's going to tell me what to do. And then of course, rock albums back then were like heavy, light, heavy, light. So the next track would be Slip Away. You expected that then. Now it will be like heavy, 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 heavy. But I think the light and shade has made these albums live and breathe into different eras and for different generations. Who Do You Want For Your Love? I remember them doing this on the Olga Russell test. They're thinking, oh no, they've gone all reggae. On Olga Russell, why aren't they doing a Bread Fan type riff? But of course, that was going to come along. It was a bit of a red herring how that track started. And I Can't See My Feelings, I Ain't No Mountain, and then Napoleon Bonaparte's Part 1 and 2, a real kind of hard-loving man kind of riffage that Deep Purple did in rock 5 years earlier. Simple stuff in a way, but wasn't that a great cover? Playing it at the Budgies, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And the version I play for this most is actually from this little box set, which all of you should own, and which features Never Turn Your Back on a Friend, In for the Kill, and Bandolier, with a little booklet as well. Fantastic. So the last one from this little series of albums that I'm playing is Pink Floyd. Very different to what I've just been showing you, isn't it? More gentle. But this was the music that kind of really helped me move on and realise that this isn't, I can do better than this. I'm not a piece of driftwood being blown around by the sea and the waves. I actually have a rudder and an engine I can turn on, and I can steer myself to far better shores. I'd heard the single? Yep, I'd heard the single, which was Shine On You Crazy Diamond Part 1, I think, but just with, the synthesizer and the gentle guitar solo, which had a melancholy feel to it, of making me feel sad but also hopeful. But it was the song, which obviously the way it was written meant nothing about what I'm about to explain, which also I think is on a separate video here, was Welcome to the Machine. And because I felt like I'd been absorbed into a machine, a factory full of dirty, smelly machines. And welcome, my son, welcome to the machine. Where have you been? It's all right, we know where you've been. I felt like that was like my boss, my foreman, the people around me. You've been in the pipeline, filling in time, provided with toys and skating with boys. I just felt like, I didn't take enough attention at school, and I've just been sucked into this thing, really. You brought a guitar to punish your ma. I did have a guitar, and I was starting to think maybe I should have took it more seriously, because I was about to. And you didn't like school. I didn't. I wasn't very good at it. And you're nobody's fool. So welcome to the machine. Welcome, my son, welcome to the machine. What did you dream? We told you what to dream. Yes, being told, well, you can work there, you can work there, or you can do that. But I don't want to do those. Well, that's what you're going to do, because that's what everyone does who leaves this school. They do that, or that. You dreamed a big star. You played a mean guitar. That was still possible. Yours ate in a steak bar. I hadn't done that, to be fair. You love to drive in a Jaguar. Well, I probably wished I had or something. So welcome to the machine. But the important part is, the way music works is that when that happened, what comes afterwards is this double note, one just behind the other one, octave, by Richard Wright as he does that synthesizer solo, which kind of said to me, you can either stay there and do this, or you can follow the music and follow your heart and follow your dreams and escape and move on. And so that synthesizer was kind of like, the way I interpreted it was saying, it's all down to you, Phil. It's all down to you. If you carry on as you are, you're going to be here. You're going to be there for 20, 30 years, and you're going to be just going to be like the people that you're having trouble getting on with now. You'll be just like them unless you do something. And so the music was telling me, was not. It's a bit like, I've said this before, or maybe this should be one of these like music and mental health things, was that the music, I used to come home and be so sad and so like lost and not knowing what to do, but I'd put on a track like this, Welcome to the Machine, and I would feel myself changing. I would feel the atmosphere of the room that the music was being played. It was changing, altering, how I felt inside. I would become calmer. I could feel myself becoming more positive, feeling that instead of thinking I can't do that, maybe I can do that, and maybe I could even do that. I was still wearing the same clothes. I was still thinking the same things, but the music was changing my perception of the world around me. Music, the way we feel about it, the way we listen to it, the way we go and see a gig, and it sometimes makes us feel tearful, but in a positive way. It changes us. It's like, it's an art form that's just so unique. And that was the power of this album, Wish You Were Here, by Pink Floyd, from 1975. So I hope you've enjoyed this little 5 from 75 plus 2, and I shall do another one looking at albums that from the other side of the Atlantic from this period that also were a wonderful influence on me as a person. Let me know what you've been playing this week. Let me know what albums helped you through, different periods of your life, especially, this transitional time it was for me leaving school in that year. Obviously, you might have left school in 1995 or 2015. That's still relevant because it's the way the music interacts with us. So it'd be great to hear from you, and also what you think of these albums, etc. Oh, I haven't said about, so what version do I play? I actually play the 5.1 mix from this box set, which I'm going to do a separate video on as well in the future. So that's the one I play. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you, as many of you now becoming patrons and YouTube members and being part of the Now Spinning Magazine family and supporters club. Please share, subscribe, tell everyone you've ever met about Now Spinning Magazine, and I shall see you on my next video.